Nick Fury is now in the spotlight because of the part he played in Captain Marvel, as the film was essentially an origin story for his character. There have been a ton of films focusing on the characters that form the Avengers, with many individual films for each, as well as multiple Avengers crossovers. Fury played a big part in the beginning films, making an appearance in almost every one of the Phase 1 movies. He was in the very first MCU film in Iron Man, played an even bigger part in Iron Man 2, was in the first and second Captain America films, actually playing a very big part in the second one, The Winter Soldier. He was in the first Thor movie, and in the first Avengers crossover film, as he was the one responsible for assembling the Avengers. In the second Avengers film, Age of Ultron, he again came to the rescue with a helicarrier in Sokovia, but after that, Fury did not make any appearances in not just the crossover Avengers films, but he did not even show up in any of the solo films either. He was left out of Ant-Man, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, and he was only in a post-credit scene for Infinity War. So where has he been all this time? I'm gonna answer that question in this video, but before we start, there will be some slight spoilers for Captain Marvel and a few of the Phase 3 films. So as I said, we last saw Fury rescuing people during Ultron's attack in Age of Ultron. He had been working with Phil Coulson on a project called Theta Protocol, where they saved the helicarrier after the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Winter Soldier.
I gotta tell you, it's not easy keeping something as big as a helicarrier a secret.
Fury used that helicarrier to get everyone in the city to safety before the Avengers blew the city up. Here there was actually a scene where one of Ultron's robots, called Ultron Sentries, flew into the helicarrier where Fury and Maria Hill were. Hill tried to shoot it, but to no effect, and Fury had to step in and stab it in the head with a crowbar. After the events that took place in Age of Ultron, they built a new Avengers facility in upstate New York. Here he visited Natasha Romanoff, or Black Widow. The two discussed how understaffed they were, as Thor had left Earth and Bruce Banner, or Hulk, had just gone off the grid. At the end of Age of Ultron, we saw him shut Romanoff down, whom he had a romantic relationship with.
So help me out. I need you.
Fury tried to make her feel better by saying that he was somewhere in Fiji. He, however, did not know that Hulk had actually taken off into space, starting his own Planet Hulk story condensed into Thor's solo film. We then learned something very interesting. Romanoff mentions how Fury sent her to find and recruit Hulk during the events of the first Avengers film. She then asked Fury if he knew what was going to happen, and he responded saying that you never know, but you hope for the best. So this means that Fury had planned and hoped for Romanoff and Banner to get together. And as we saw in Thor Ragnarok, Hulk had been in the Hulk state for almost 2 years, and the only thing that was able to make him go back to Banner was seeing and hearing Romanoff. So could Fury have seen the potential gain that the relationship was going to have? It certainly seems that way. They finished the conversation with Fury saying that he put together a great team, but because the team had thinned out a bit, Romanoff stated that nothing lasts forever. But as Fury exited, he said that trouble does.
No matter who wins or loses, trouble still comes around.
During this time, Fury and Hill tasked themselves with hunting down and putting a stop to bad guys using Chitauri technology. This is debris left behind from the first Avengers film when the Chitauri attacked New York. We saw this in Spider-Man Homecoming with the Vulture and his crew abusing this technology. Fury and Hill got so good at disposing of that technology that Fury said that they had it down to a science. Not long after that, the events of Civil War took place. Here, the Sokovia Accords were introduced, an attempt for the government to keep tabs on enhanced individuals and those part of the Avengers. This causes a civil war, hence the name of the film, between the Avengers, splitting between Captain America and his team, and Iron Man and his own team. Fury and Agent Hill discussed this as it was going on. Hill's take on it was that it would be handy to keep tabs on enhanced individuals while they were in the field, but regulating them all the time seemed a bit of a political pipe dream. Fury ignored what she said about everything, meaning that Fury did not want to take sides. He built that team, and probably felt guilty that they were going through this. Instead of even commenting on Hill's ideas, he immediately asks where the members of the Avengers are. Fury was also probably thinking that if something happened with them, it would be his fault in the eyes of many, as he was the one that defied everyone to put these heroes together. On the other hand, Fury could just be desperate to keep the team that he had made together. Since Captain Marvel came out, we now know that he started the Avengers Initiative all the way back in the mid-90s, taking the name Avenger from Captain Marvel's plane. After the huge Civil War fight at the airport went down, Fury and Hill tried to find all of the members. Unfortunately, they had little luck. Hill informed Fury that they could not pinpoint Cap and Bucky, that Prince T'Challa, or Black Panther, was a ghost, which most likely means that he went back to Wakanda, which at the time was still top secret. And she told him that Stark, or Iron Man, was MIA as usual. All they knew was that Stark's last stop was the Raft, the prison where Captain Ross was holding Captain America's team. Fury immediately stepped into action, saying that otherworldly threats were bound to come soon, and he knew that they were going to need the Avengers back together. He and Hill contacted Cameron Klein because they needed someone that they could trust to cover their tracks as they tried to get the Avengers back together no matter how long it took. To do this, they had to disappear, which Hill protested, asking if that was the right move at a time like this. When Hill got worried about the Sokovia Accords affecting them, Fury said that they only restricted enhanced individuals, and it did not say anything about super spies. The two drive a high-tech car to a runway with a single airplane on it, which Fury would use to go on his mission. Before he leaves, Hill mentioned something that Fury stated in the first Avengers film.
We get into a situation like this again, what happens then?
He'll come back.
You really sure about that?
I am.
Why?
Because we'll need them to.
Hill mentions how sure Fury was that they would come back because they needed them to, and asked Fury what had changed. Fury responded, saying that they were a group of remarkable people, and that they became a far better team than he had ever hoped for, but for all the good that they had done, Fury needed them to be something more. This next part is big, because we find out that Fury shared a secret about Captain Marvel with Agent Hill. She mentions that he has one more Avenger that he hasn't called yet, and says that it might be helpful to have some backup. Fury tells her that they don't and won't have to call her if they do their job right. Fury then leaves Hill behind and boards the plane. He eventually tracks down Captain America, Falcon, and Black Widow, who form their own team, trying to collect and destroy the Chitauri technology. As they were boarding their ship during their escape, Fury stood there and asked if he and Cap could talk. When the two talk, Fury brings up a conversation that he had with Cap during the events of the Winter Soldier, and he applied that here, saying that enough was enough with his and Stark's silent treatment. At these words, Cap gets angry and ignores Fury, instead asking him if there were more pressing matters that needed avenging. Fury responds, saying that it's only a matter of time before some bigger intergalactic problem needs to be solved, who we as an audience know is on his way.
And now it's here. Or should I say, I am.
He then tells Cap that what he, Falcon, and Romanoff are doing is pointless because they have a damage control squad to do the same job for them. Cap says that that team is not doing a very good job, and to shut Fury up, adds that he gave Tony a way to reach him. In Infinity War, we saw that this was with a flip phone. While Fury talked to Cap, he sent Hill to talk some sense into Tony. She sees his flip phone, and judging by the fact that he's working on a suit with nanotech with the power to basically generate anything, it's clear that that phone, which is far behind anything else in the room technology-wise, that the phone was given to him by Cap. Hill picks it up and asks how long he's going to allow their fight to continue. She adds that the world needs the Avengers, and not just some of them, but the full roster. Tony replies saying not today, and when Hill keeps pressing him, Tony tells Hill that she's fired and tells her to leave. Fury meets back with Hill, both unsuccessful to get Tony and Cap to reconcile. The two continue their mission to get rid of any Chitauri technology that they find and dispose of it accordingly. A few months later, the events of Infinity War take place. Fury and Hill watched as a giant ship came to the city. After it left, the two got worried as they could not track Stark down, which we know is because he went into space with the ship. Later, as they're driving, they get word that there are multiple bogies over Wakanda, which just recently revealed itself to the rest of the world. Hill tells Fury that the signatures are 10 times bigger than those that came to New York during the first Avengers film, and Fury gets a bit worried. They then start to see chaos around them, with helicopters crashing, cars crashing, people running, and people disappearing. This was the work of Thanos after he snapped his fingers, erasing half the population in the universe. Fury watches as his partner and friend floats away into dust, and he realizes that this is a whole new level of bad. It dawns on him that it's time to call Captain Marvel, and he runs to the car to grab the pager that she had given to him. As he starts to blow away just like Hill, he presses the button to summon Captain Marvel just in time. This leads us to Avengers Endgame, which comes out in April. He's actually not listed to be in Endgame according to IMDb, but that could be wrong, or they could be withholding information for a big twist. Either way, you are now caught up on everything Nick Fury.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. You can follow me on social media. Links for that will be in the description. And I want to give a huge shout out to all my Patrons listed below. If you want to be listed on my next video, plus a bunch of other rewards, check out my Patreon, which is linked down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you press that subscribe button to help grow the channel. Again, thank you so much for watching, and look out for more great videos on the way.